I obviously love digital transformation and clearly believe that AI, automation, and machine learning will help create amazing digital businesses. However, way too often I see companies solve the wrong problem with the right tools and the right problem with the wrong tools. I know it sounds like a play on words, but here's what I mean. I think digital winners and digital laggards approach their projects very differently. There are some things digital leaders do that the others don't. To begin with, they have absolute clarity why the digital transformation is a must for the business, not a distraction, not a pilot, and not an experiment. Their conviction comes from two clear drivers. One, they have a major performance gap between the business goals and the actual results. This is key. Why do anything if the business is firing on all cylinders? Transformation for them is not a hobby or a fad, but a way of gaining lasting competitive advantage. Once they define that gap, they take the second step and determine if the business as usual with incremental changes could accomplish the same goal. This is also essential. Business inertia will fight any digital change, even in the best of companies. If grit and hustle can close that performance gap, then let your team hustle and leave the large-scale digital transformations for later. Now, if the business as usual won't cut it, digital leaders do something very important. They determine exactly what value and performance improvement the digital program should deliver and by when. And then the leadership team commits to closing that gap. Then and only then do they look at tools, consultants, and how others achieved and targeted the same results. These companies are committed to the result and not just the tools and methodologies. With that mindset, they can determine if digital transformation is a better strategy to close the gap than outsourcing or maybe even selling part of the business. Once it is determined that digital is in fact the ideal option with the best business returns, then they can launch the program with absolute conviction. And then they go with scale and speed. Digital leaders do not dabble. They don't just automate one task. They don't just create an AI model for one product. They scale because the business depends on the results, preferably this year, not in 5 years. Digital leaders don't celebrate how many data scientists, neural networks, or bots they have. They celebrate how much value they can create and how they improve their competitive position as a result. Now, what about the laggards? Well, they tend to do the exact opposite. They have no clear definition of the performance gap. They don't know how much of that gap could be improved with the current business model with grit and hustle, and how much digital transformation would need to contribute. Because digital at scale is not part of their business playbook, they keep reverting to good old grit and hustle, working harder with the business model that they have. In that environment, digital initiatives are not part of the plan to reach the business goals. Now, maybe some innovative managers end up doing some digital experiments and pilots and solving small problems within the existing budgets. They may solve the wrong problems with the potentially the right tools and sometimes stumble upon the right problem, but apply the wrong tool. Not because the tool is actually bad, but because the solution is tactical and not part of the corporate agenda. In my experience, it is really, really hard for these innovators to win against the business as usual operating plan of a company, especially if that plan allocates resources and rewards based on the old way of doing things. So in those companies, the innovators struggle and leave, and the old ways remain. Fortunately, the difference between winners and laggards may have very little to do with digital skills. It is all about strategy and governance, and those are easier to change. Often, it only takes the CEO to ask 3 simple questions. What do we want to achieve as a business? What is the gap between that goal and our existing reality? And can we choose to close that gap with digital transformation this year? And just like that, they can also become digital winners. Talk soon.